going to compare the DJI RS3 Mini with the DJI Osmo Mobile 6, which you might be thinking is a weird comparison because one is for phones and one is for cameras. But you can actually use the RS3 Mini with phones as well. You might just have to add some extra weight. So we're going to go into that and test all of these things out. And I'm going to showcase some shots that I took with both so you can get an idea what the differences are between the two. Obviously, just starting right off the bat, the price difference is huge. You can get this for a fourth of the price of the RS3 Mini. So it's like $50 versus $200. Before we get into actually shooting anything, this is my setup here. So you'll see the iPhone SE. It can hold way bigger phones too. This is just the one I have here as an example. Then I also have the ZV-1 on the RS3 Mini. And this is something interesting, I think. I actually have this locked, so that's the first difference. All of these are freely spinning. You can lock this, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's closed down. But basically, you just fold it up, and it's calibrated. That's the first huge difference. Let's actually open this up. The RS3 Mini is way heavier, and it also more difficult to set up. I mean, it's possible. You might have to watch a YouTube video, but what you want to do is, let me turn this off. If this is open, oh, here we go. Basically, you want to set this up so that if you place your camera a certain way, it's actually going to stay that way. And this camera is very tiny. So that has its benefits, but it's also, you got to know what you're doing. So because this is a very small camera, I don't think this is designed to hold cameras that are this small. Also, this has a lens that comes out like this. So what you got to do is balance it for this state right here. And then once it's balanced, it'll stay in whatever position you put it in. So that's the state you got to get to, or as close as possible to this state so the gimbal doesn't have to do so much heavy lifting. Let's turn it on now, and it's going to connect to my camera via Bluetooth if my camera is on. If not, then it is not. I'm going to go into PF mode. I don't know what exactly it stands for, but we can show that it does turn. It can turn up and down. So this is very similar. You can record, but what you can't do is obviously switch orientation. This is locked in landscape. If you want it in vertical, you'll have to mount it on not this plate, but this plate, which is possible. But with the ZV-1, I found that the camera is actually too small. So what I did is I bought a rig, a small rig for this camera, and I'll add some weights to it, and then we'll try again. And I'll make sure to do an update video on that. Now let's go over to the Osmo Mobile, which you can see does have the similar controls. It does move. And what's most interesting is probably going to be the stabilization, which both are good, especially if you do the ninja walk and you actually take your time, you don't rush it. You get a zoom knob with both. Obviously, you'd have to use the Osmo Mobile app on the phone, or the Mimo app, I think it is called. On here, if you connect the camera via Bluetooth, you get two options. I think you can get zoom. Let me open this out. That's something cool with this small camera as well. You can fold out the display, and it is so light that it actually doesn't make a difference. You don't have to rebalance it. And now my battery is dead, so I can't show you, but this turn wheel in the back is actually can be used to zoom in or to change focus on your camera, depending on which settings you have set up. But you can also set this to move the gimbal itself. So there's different ways you can rotate it on the Z, Y, and X axis using this right here. And then combined with this knob, you have full power over it. Then to record, I found that you have to press in quite far. It's not a light press, but you actually have to push this in. And it's almost like a camera shutter button where you can push in again after you press once and then press again. Kind of like this button I'm talking about. I'll get some new batteries and then we'll jump straight into the actual shooting. I don't know, I want to do the iPhone comparison or mount an iPhone on this, but the issue is if I do that, I'll have to re-stabilize everything. I have to rebalance the gimbal, and that's... Okay, so I rebalanced it as good as I could. It's not perfect, it doesn't stay in each position how you should usually balance it, but since this is a very light setup, it doesn't matter. The motor can handle it. I'll turn it on now, and you'll see that it is perfectly balanced, and I'll show some shots taken with the iPhone, and it's gonna look perfectly fine. So it really comes down to how much do you want to spend. That's the main differentiator, but also, do you want to use a camera on this? This can hold up to 2 kilograms, and this can hold your phone. So if you sometimes shoot with your phone, but most of the time shoot with a camera, go for the RS3 Mini, definitely, because you can put a camera on that. Well, I've tried, but it looks silly and it's gonna slip out of here. And also, you can use like a small camera, the RX100 series, but you can't use a full or crop sensor camera. So, I'm gonna take this now, and we'll show how good it stabilizes. As you can see, it works perfectly fine. Even if I do some weird motion with this, it does perfectly stabilize everything. And that's to be expected because it's, well, rated for 2 kilograms, but we're only putting like 100 grams on here. I don't know how much the iPhone weighs, maybe a bit more, but you can see super smooth results. So you can pretty much use this for anything. And I said that I was gonna do the vertical mode too, and that's something I'm still planning to do. However, I will do that in a different video because I've also purchased a cage for this camera and I'm still waiting for that. And once that arrives, I will put it on here, but you should already know from this video that it is very likely gonna work because you don't have to have it 100% balanced. You can check out how much load it puts on the motors in standby mode. That is not a lot. That is perfectly fine because it is so light, and the ZV-1 is also pretty light in comparison to a full frame camera. With that being said, you can go ahead and buy this RS3 Mini if you're looking to hold something very light that isn't specifically made for this, or you are looking to hold something bigger like an actual full frame or crop sensor camera. So in my case, to wrap this up, I would definitely say that the RS3 Mini is the winner. It is quite a bit more expensive, and I would say if you only plan on shooting with your phone, and this is a no-brainer. Get the cheap Osmo Mobile. It's pretty much just as stable as the RS3 Mini, but you can easily put your phone in here. It's actually easier, and you don't need to have an adapter that mounts to the standard camera mount. So that's definitely also goes for the cheaper model. But if you ever plan on getting a real camera and then want to stabilize that too, I would highly recommend you get the RS3 Mini, which on Amazon I saw is like sitting around $220, brand new. So that's like a super good deal, and it delivers such good shots. The only annoying part with this camera is that you actually have to unmount it from the quick release, and then you can change the batteries. So that's something that's very annoying, but that's just something you gotta live with. And maybe my small rig cage will change that, but we'll have to see about that. Overall, the build quality is pretty similar. I mean, I never had an issue with this. The new one, also with the added weight, does look and feel a bit more tough. Everything else, it just comes down to what your specific use case is, and do you want a hybrid that can do both, or do you want to get one that can only do phones and save a bit of money that way. Now you can sit back and enjoy the shots I got with both gimbals, but I've also added some stabilization in post, so you most likely won't see a huge difference, which is good because that's a real work case. If you, even in Final Cut Pro, if you use the stabilization That's what you will get in the end, and that's what the workflow will look like for most people. So I'm trying to set it like really realistic.